What's up, folks? Max here, and welcome back to more Arcade Stories. It's been a while since one of these has gone up, as I have gone into the Real Talk series, and I've actually put the arcade and Real Talk videos into the same playlist because they're kind of similar. You can find the annotation at the top right if you guys want to check out some previous episodes. I believe the last time we did one of these, we were talking about marriage and video games. It was a very serious subject. If you want to get into some more fun, let's talk about arcade stories. So what I wanted to discuss today is something that's kind of such a crazy coincidence. It's almost impossible that it's a coincidence. It's of the supernatural variety. This is about ghosts and arcades. Seemingly two things that should have no relation to each other, right? Like nothing at all, but creepy things, and especially in my current situation. As you guys know, I've had a Capcom vs. SNK2 machine for the past, year or so. I recently got a Super Turbo cabinet, and I'm looking into getting some more smaller cabinets as well. If I pretty much find a deal and I have space in my garage, I want to, collect arcade machines and try to preserve this wonderful history of playing games on arcade machines and inviting friends over and stuff like that. But what's even more interesting is that the guy that's been helping me out to try to find some of these cabinets has been the guy who was actually working at Family Fun Arcade before they closed down, Ralph. And he was the guy that ran it for 40 years or so. And as we were talking, he was telling me it's so weird that you're looking for arcade machines and stuff like that, because he's got this huge storage facility with a ton of machines that he still hasn't gone through, and he'll let me know if he has anything. And he said that storage facility is actually really close to where my house is, so it's convenient if I buy a cabinet from him or something like that. But what's crazy is that the location of the facility to my place is close, and what's even crazier is the history. He was telling me this story about how, right similar to where I used to, or where I'm currently living right now, in this area it was actually suburbs, or it's all suburbs now, but about 20-25 years ago, there wasn't any suburbs here at all. It was just literally dirt and land, and he actually told me there was a farm where they bred and they housed exotic animals. So he was telling me this story, how he was actually friends with this guy because the area wasn't that huge back in the 70s and the early 80s when I was born. So he was telling me about how he would go to this guy's place, and he was a frequent guy at the arcade, and he would talk with him, and he had all this extra land that he didn't have anything to do with. Well, the big thing in the arcade industry is that when you start finding machines and getting all this stuff, and you have all these machines you don't know what to do with, they're heavy, they take up a ton of room. You need to find ways to get rid of them, because sometimes people just didn't want to buy them. And there was that crazy crash in the mid-80s as well, where video games just completely died, and no one wanted to play them, no one bought them. So until the Nintendo came out, that was eventually remedied a little bit. And this time they were trying to get rid of a lot of machines. So what happened was, him and a friend took an axe, and all these different tools to a ton of different arcade machines, ye old arcade cabinets that were either broken, had never had the chance of selling, and they just had to get rid of them. They essentially tore them down, ripped them out piece by piece, and brutalized them to the point of which they can be buried as material. They took all these parts, took them in a gigantic truck over to this area, which was essentially just an emptied lot in the middle of nowhere that the guy owned, and he's like, yeah, we can just bury them down here. So that's what they did. They actually buried the arcade machines and all the remnants of those boards and all that stuff and the joysticks and everything that makes arcade machines into the ground. Now, what's crazy about this is the fact that he was telling me that the location that I'm living at right now, and we had to go out to the street so he can see what it was because he hadn't been around here in a while. He's like, this is the location that we buried all these arcade machines. And I'm like, wait, are you serious? Are you telling me that my home right now is on an arcade burial ground and I'm collecting arcade machines? He's like, yes, and it's freaking me out too. I still can't believe the fact that I own arcade machines, but I never really had the desire to get cabinets. I mean, sure, it was I kind of wanted one every once in a while, but digging into my savings and really, really, really taking the opportunity to get one of these cabinets is something that it's not easy. It's it's hard to find $500, $600 on an arcade cabinet or something like that. But for some reason, when we got in here, we saw that we had a garage, and even me and my wife were really yeah, let's save up and let's get one of these machines. And we absolutely did that. We saved up and we got them. And even though we had space in previous homes, we were motivated for some reason. It was a little weird how motivated we were, and I can't help but think that it had something to do with all of the dead arcade machines in the ground below us telling us to revive us. Bring back the arcades. Don't let us die, and don't let history take itself down a path where it'll eventually become completely irrelevant. Preserve us, and it's a little creepy, right? It's even more creepy to think that I'm probably the only person within a several block radius that has anything close to an arcade cabinet in their garage, and below it is probably the remnants of fallen arcade machines. So, pretty crazy coincidence, and not as much an arcade story as it is an arcade history story. That kind of blows my mind. Let me know what you guys think of the story in the comments below, and if there's a specific arcade game or story that you want to hear me talk about, let me know in the comments below, and there's a chance that I might have a story to tell. And if I ever come across an arcade specter or spook of, like, Pong or Galaga in my arcade and it starts haunting us, I'm gonna get that shit on camera. My name is Maximilian, and I'll see you next time.
KO! Can't be.